The paper was shaking in his hands. Type 2 diabetes. He thought it was a life sentence until I told him about the chewing gum. I'm Dr. Neal Heath, and I still remember how he held that blood test result last spring. Not loosely, not folded, but clenched, like if he let go, something terrible would happen. He was well into his 60s, staring at those numbers as if they were a final verdict. To him, it meant the beginning of the end, losing strength, independence, and control over his own body. I've seen this moment more times than I can count, and I've learned something most people are never told. The fear surrounding this diagnosis is often more damaging than the disease itself, because type 2 diabetes is not an inevitable decline. What my patient didn't know that morning, and what I want you to understand right now, is that your body, even in your 60s or 70s, still has a powerful ability to repair itself. And the key isn't harsher medication or stricter sugar avoidance. It's something far more fundamental. It's food. Now, I know that sounds too good to be true. You've probably heard 100 different approaches, and most advice out there treats the symptom, not the cause. But what I'm about to show you is backed by decades of clinical research and something even more powerful: real patients who reversed their diabetes by understanding one simple mechanical problem happening inside their cells right now. Most people believe diabetes is caused by eating too much sugar. That belief leads them to fear bread, potatoes, rice. Entire food groups suddenly become the enemy. But history tells a different story. In Japan, during the 1960s and 70s, diabetes was almost non-existent. The population was lean, active, and among the healthiest on earth, despite eating rice at nearly every meal. Rice, the very food we're told to avoid. The change came in the 1980s, when fast food, fried chicken, and heavily processed meals flooded into the diet. Within 2 decades, diabetes rates rose from about 1% nearly 12%. That shift reveals something crucial. Carbohydrates weren't the problem. Fat was. To understand why, we need to look inside your body, down to the cellular level. Imagine a muscle cell as a room that runs on sugar for energy. Insulin is the key that opens the door and lets that sugar in. In type 2 diabetes, the key still exists. Your pancreas is still making insulin, but the lock doesn't work. Why? Because fat has built up inside the cell itself. We call this intramyocellular lipid, but I want you to think of it like chewing gum jammed into a door lock. No matter how many keys you have, nothing gets in until the gum is cleared out. When people shift to a low-fat, whole-food, plant-based way of eating, that fat begins to drain out of the cells. The lock clears. Insulin starts working again, often the way it did decades earlier. This isn't theory. In a major NIH-funded study, we compared a conventional diabetes diet with a low-fat vegan diet. The plant-based group saw their A1C levels drop by an average of 1.2 points, nearly 3 times as much as those following standard advice. That's the kind of drop that often rivals medication. And the side effects? More energy, better sleep, weight loss without counting calories. So what does that look like in real life? Let me walk you through the 7 elements that clear the gum from the lock. Element 1, legumes. The first foods I ask patients to embrace are beans, peas, and lentils. These raise sugar gently and steadily, no sharp spikes. They're packed with fiber, which helps you feel full and satisfied. Many patients are surprised to find they naturally eat less without ever feeling deprived.
That's why weight loss on a plant-based diet tends to last. Element 2, whole grains. Next come whole grains, especially dense traditional ones like rye and pumpernickel. I know many of you fear grains because of the carb myth, but pumpernickel behaves very differently in your body than refined white flour. Its impact on blood sugar is slower, steadier, and far more manageable. Element 3, leafy greens. Broccoli, kale, collards. These are your metabolic allies. Many people worry about calcium as they age and assume dairy is essential. But here's something most people don't know. Cows don't create calcium. They get it from plants, and so can you. These greens strengthen your bones while avoiding the animal fats that clog your cellular locks. They're also rich in potassium, which naturally lowers blood pressure, another concern many of my older patients share. Element 4, fruit. This is where patients hesitate. It's sweet, they say. Won't it raise my blood sugar? But fruit comes packaged with fiber, water, and essential nutrients. In metabolic studies, people who switched to a fully plant-based diet didn't slow down, they sped up. Their bodies burned about 15% more calories after meals than before. It's as if their metabolism remembers how to work again. Element 5, starchy vegetables. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, squash. These have been misunderstood for decades. Without butter or sour cream, these foods are naturally low in fat and provide steady energy for your brain. Remember, fat contains more than twice the calories of carbohydrates gram for gram. By choosing natural starches and skipping added oils, people often reduce calories without ever feeling hungry. Element 6, comfort foods. Because no lifestyle works if it feels like punishment. Pasta with marinara sauce, pancakes without oil, linguine with mushrooms and artichokes. One of my patients even discovered her favorite red licorice happened to be vegan. Now, I don't recommend junk food, but the lesson mattered. This isn't a diet of misery, it's a diet of abundance. When people don't feel deprived, they stay consistent, and healing follows. Element 7, vitamin B12. There's one essential nutrient you need to plan for, vitamin B12. Through fortified foods or a simple supplement, it costs pennies a day. B12 supports healthy nerves and blood, especially as we age. It's the one thing plant-based eaters must be mindful of, and it's easily managed.
Let me show you what this actually looks like over 7 days. Monday, oatmeal with berries and walnuts. Lunch, lentil soup with whole grain bread. Dinner, black bean tacos with salsa and avocado. Tuesday, smoothie bowl, chickpea salad wrap, spaghetti marinara with a side salad. You get the idea. Real food, satisfying meals, nothing extreme. Now, here's something critical. As you begin incorporating these 7 elements, one important thing must happen: medical supervision. Because this approach works. Blood sugar drops, often dramatically. Blood pressure improves, and medications that were once necessary can suddenly become too strong. I've had patients whose insulin needs dropped by half within weeks. Doctors need to carefully reduce medications as your body regains balance. This isn't a small change, it's a metabolic reset. Remember the man I mentioned at the beginning, the one clutching that paper? His name was Robert. 3 months after our conversation, he came back for a follow-up. His A1C had dropped from 8.9 to 6.2. He'd lost 23 pounds without trying. His doctor had already cut his medication in half. But what struck me most was how he walked into the room. No hesitation, no fear. He was standing taller, moving easier. And when I asked how he felt, he said something I'll never forget. I thought my body had given up on me. Turns out, I'd just been giving it the wrong fuel. This is what's happening in your blood right now if you make this shift. Fat drains from your cells. Insulin receptors open up. Glucose gets where it needs to go. Your body remembers what it was designed to do. The goal isn't just to live longer, it's to live better. To wake up with energy, to move without fear, to trust that your body, no matter your age, still knows how to heal if you give it the chance. I've been in medicine long enough to know that most people aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for hope, for a path forward that doesn't involve endless medication or slow decline. This is that path. It's not always easy, especially at first, but it's simple and it works. And if Robert's story resonated with you, or if you've started making changes yourself, leave a comment below. I read them and I learn from every single one. Your body is still capable of remarkable things. Let's give it what it needs.